Welcome back to another romance roast. On today's agenda is Kill or Be Kilt by Victoria Roberts. Terrible, I didn't even look at this woman's name. So backstory on how I found this book. I have a friend from work who thought it'd be really funny to send this to me in a picture via Snapchat months ago saying, I found your new big read. And this was before I even considered making this channel or anything. And so I decided this would be one of the first books I would get when I started this channel. Can we first talk about the cover of this book? It cracks me up because it looks like they photoshopped Adam Levine's face on a very muscular man in a kilt body, and I think it's hilarious. So basically, to sum up, this book is ultimately about a Scottish and English family, the Walsinghams and various lairds. Basically, one of the sisters is Lady Elizabeth Walsingham, and when she was 15, she was madly in love with a Highlander named Laird Ian Munro, and Laird is a title. I'm assuming it means something about owning land. I'm not sure. But Ian Munro, so she was 15, and she was madly in love with him, and he left for 3 years. And then he came back, and she had, resigned herself for 3 years that she was like, I'm not gonna love this man, blah, 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 blah. And of course he comes back 3 years later, and she's still madly in love with him. Well, fun plot twist. I mean, if murder is a fun plot twist, or death. Lady Elizabeth and all of her sisters, their uncle passed away, so basically they all were going to return to England. Elizabeth had never officially been to court, so she goes to court with Laird Munro, Fagin, who is married to her sister Grace, and Ruari, who is married to her sister Ravenna. Well, it turns out that basically Elizabeth's whole family is spies, or were spies for the English crown. So obviously Elizabeth gets to go to England, and her main goal is she wants to be introduced to society, all that fun stuff, while also fighting off feelings for Laird Munro. So she spends a lot of time there. She obviously, of course, meets a handsome gentleman, one of which who is super obsessed with his mother. Like, I'm talking Norman Bates psycho level obsessed with his mother. So there's that, and then she meets a very handsome actor who is playing King Henry VIII, because this takes place during King James's rule, for historical context. But this is a fun book. I don't want to give away too much because there are actually quite a few twists and turns. I have to say, this is going to be not so much of a roast, and I'm finding that I feel a few of them aren't going to be. I have issues with it, of course, but all in all, I actually really liked this book. I felt like the characters were very well written and developed. One of my favorite, I have two romantic tropes that I'm always a huge fan of. One is mutual hatred turning into love. By far my favorite. So like Much Ado About Nothing, Pride and Prejudice type shit. And then people who know they're in love with each other, and at least one of them knows, and it takes the other one a little while to figure out, and all their friends and family are kind of like laughing about it, especially when it comes to realization. And that's what this is. Obviously more so on Laird Munro's side. Fagin and Ruari are hilarious with him. It's this wonderful dynamic of basically being like, when he says he finally admits he loves Elizabeth, they're like, no shit, Sherlock, we've known forever. And he just literally goes, I hate ye all. And it's hilarious. I just feel like this is actually very good. Issues with it, there's a lot of switching into Gaelic and then putting the translation. I don't know if it's accurate Gaelic. I'm not familiar with the language, except when I was 13 I knew how to say kiss my ass, but that's different. But I'm not familiar with the language. But for me, I understand that these people are Scottish Highlanders in the time of King James's court. I don't need the Gaelic thrown in there. I just don't. I get what they're trying to do, especially if they're trying to kind of say things more privately, because that happens with Fagin and Ian a lot. And I see where sometimes at one point Ian, I guess, trying to express his love for Elizabeth in Gaelic, and I get it, but at the same time, it's just slightly unappealing to me. Let's see, what's the other issue I have with this? It's more so this motherfucker Ian. Literally, the reason he is gone for 3 years is because the fact that Elizabeth loves him stresses him the fuck out. Like, he bails for 3 years. He doesn't see his friends for 3 years. He leaves. I don't know where the fuck he was in Scotland before, but for 3 years, the motherfucker just disappears because he cannot handle that a woman loves him. Because, you know, everybody, and this is what bothers me too, everybody is saying that he's like unattractive, and it's very clear, one, by the cover and by descriptions, this is a good looking man. Like, this is a very handsome man, and everybody's bullshitting by saying he's ugly. It drives me insane. And that's with any book where they're like, oh, I am so ugly, or everyone says they're ugly when they're clearly hot, and you're sitting there going, are y'all fucking blind? I hate it. Stop. Like, just admit everybody's attractive, okay? It's a romance novel. Everybody's really fucking good looking. And this book has made me realize I am very uncomfortable with the phrase spilling his seed. That's really gross. That's not at all sexy. It's disgusting. I hate it. It just creeps me out, and I'm expecting probably to read that sentence a lot more, but it's gross. It's like how some people feel about the word moist. I'm uncomfortable with spilling their seed or some variation of that. It's weird. It's uncomfortable. Stop that shit. Please, romance authors, stop saying that shit. So I have that issue. The phrase that was overused that I didn't expect right near the end when Elizabeth and Laird Monroe start having sex is the thrill of his arousal. Please stop. Again, it makes me uncomfortable. It's weird. It's not sexy. It confuses me because are we talking about the arousal is thrilled, she's thrilled, he's aroused, he's thrilled, he's aroused? I don't know. It's a little misleading. It's confusing. Don't like it. 10 out of 10 don't enjoy. Would not recommend to a friend that phrasing. But the one really other like positive thing I have to say about this book is representation, especially. Obviously, I don't know historically how Highlanders and Scottish men felt about women being treated properly, but there is a scene of just anybody that is uncomfortable with this, a scene of almost rape. Nothing really happens, but Elizabeth is assaulted in a hallway. And they're very upset about it in the sense that they're like, you don't take, as they say, you don't take what is nay given. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that there's a level of these men who are supposed to be barbarian, rough men are very much like, oh, no, you don't rape. So that's cool. But if you are kind of sensitive on that topic of sexual assault of any kind, there's a very brief instance of it. You might not be okay with it. But, so that is my review. Like I said, what we've learned from this book is, like, just be honest, everyone's hot, and spilling seed is gross. If you guys enjoyed this, go ahead and give me a like and hit subscribe if you want to see more content and more reviews. If you have any romance novels you'd like to recommend to me, please leave them down below in the comments. So I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.